Creative Productions welcomes you to another video from our March 2020 Utah Lake Curvature Experiment. But first, before we get to that, let's establish something in heliocentrism, the globe model. A fundamental fact, which is that all water is curved on the globe model. It has to, because it has to do 360 degrees back around to itself. It has to create a sphere, and it has to be water still. So all water must be curved. As you can see, when you ask Google, does water curve? They'll tell you right here. The surface of all water is curved. Even a small lake surface follows the curvature of the Earth. So what is the curvature of the Earth? Or what I should say is, what is the mainstream supposed curvature of the Earth? What is the curvature that they tell us? Well, we can see here, it says that Earth has a radius of approximately 4,000 miles. So using the Pythagorean theorem, we can see that the average curvature is about 8 inches per mile squared. What a lot of people don't realize is that this is a geometric object. We can measure and test it at 25,000 miles around, or 4,000 mile radius. This is testable. And we can be extremely accurate within 500 miles. Now, there are things like mirror lines and haze lines that people need to be educated on that can mess with your experiments. But these can be overcome just by educating yourself and experimenting and learning how they act and how they work. Usually cool, humid, and cloudy conditions, very normal conditions, is what you want, with no extremes of anything. Because when you get things like extreme heat or extreme dryness, then these layers over water get very exaggerated. And with the naked eye, when standing on the beach, appears to make things look like they disappear from the bottom up. It's extremely important to notice that the sky starts to cover up the bottom of the boat. That's because the closer you get to the water, the thicker the atmosphere becomes. Which is why the very bottom of the mirror line has just become sky now, while the upper half of the mirror line still reflects. But as the boat continues to go further, that mirror line will get thicker and thicker, working bottom up. So the sky will work its way up from the bottom of the boat. While at the same time, the dimensions of the boat, the size of the boat, remains the exact same over the water the whole time. This is proof the objects go behind a thickening atmosphere, not Earth curve. And with equipment like the P1000, we can now test this thoroughly. The battle for long-distance viewing is not Earth curve, it's atmosphere. Now, the ocean can also throw other curveballs like tide and ocean swell, which is why we chose to use a lake. Alright, we've talked about haze conditions and mirror lines. We've established that the mainstream says all water is curved, and the supposed ball Earth dimensions, we know what those are. So let's go out and test it. I did it for you, so let's go watch. Okay, so here we are at Utah Lake, 13.7 miles from point to point. I was on the north shore, my dad was on the south shore. So at 13.7 miles, we're going to have about 125 feet of curvature drop. Now, that's at ground level. With the cameras above ground level, that'll change, but we'll get to the final calculations at the end of the video. Alright, from my location on the lake, I was on the north side of Utah Lake. Right up here where the arrow's pointing is where I was, and here is a quick video documenting my location. As you can see, I'm over the lake here. The camera's about 4 3/4 foot high. And here I'd actually already found my dad's flashlight, but we'll get to that here soon. The next location was where my dad was. This is the south side of the lake, 13.7 miles away. Now we'll let him document his location.
This is our setup for the flashlight. I'm putting it out over the lake. Kirk is on the other side.
The light source height was approximately 5.5 feet high. So after we set up, he turned on the flashlight and we started looking for each other. And after about 2 minutes, I was able to spot him. And this is only possible on a flat plane. And we're going to test it with the laser as well, but we'll get to that here shortly. But first, let's show you really quick what we found with the flashlight. Again, recording. Zooming in. There it is. Nice and clear.
Can you see me or just only the light?
Only the light. Piercing through. Oh, it's nice and bright. Okay, now put your hand in front of it. And it's gone. Take it off. And it's back. Put your hand
Cool.
in front now. And it's gone. And take it off. There it is. We got it. 13.7 miles away. Seen a few feet over the water. Basic geometry and the globe hate each other. And that's because one is real and one is not. Basic geometry remains the same. The curvature of the Earth is something that we can now test and see for ourselves. It does not exist. Even the most gracious refraction calculations on the most globe-defending sites cannot even come close to accounting for the amount of curvature that is missing in this experiment. But we wanted to be extra sure, so we got out the laser.
I have to mount it on the tripod.
You hit me, Dad. Yeah. You were looking directly down a beam of light to the source of that laser. That is a hot hit, direct hit, 13.7 miles away, directly into my camera lens. You're gonna have... Oh, there it is. You hit me. You hit me, right? You hit the camera. So after getting the laser zeroed in, we continued recording with multiple devices, and we did sync tests, just for extra verification.
Okay, videoing again with the green laser now. Alright, cover it up.
Covered.
Uncover. There it is. 13 miles, man. Beautiful laser shot.
Cool.
Beautiful. Alright, cool. That is that. Alright.
Now this experiment, it empirically shows that the alleged globe model is false, based on its own claims of curve calculations. But I decided to drive the nail into the globe coffin just a little bit more, a little deeper, by lowering my camera while recording the laser. This effectively would raise my horizon if I were on a globe. So let's watch basic geometry destroy the globe even more as I lower my camera to the water. Alright, final shot and final calculations. I lowered my camera down to about 9 inches over the water on this shot. It was under a foot, it was so close the waves were basically licking my camera. And the results give us the answer. We are not on a sphere. Now there's something in these calculations I wanted to point out. Notice it says that my horizon is only 1 mile away. That means my horizon would be right about here. About 1 mile in front of me. That would mean that about 1 mile in front of me is the point, the tangent point, in which it starts to block any object behind it. The further it goes behind my tangent point, the more it's blocked. I mean, this can be easily tested. The black swan picture of the rigs and the horizon line. I mean, these are devastating to the globe. And you know, it's okay to acknowledge that this evidence exists. Don't let the real distractions of this world blind you from one of the most powerful, simple truths that can exist. Remember, the truth does not fear investigation. Do not let your friends or your culture or your TVs distract you from the truth, because they will try. Keep focused, stay calm, and carry on.
Hope is dead.
Thank you for watching this level-headed production.